Now it's going to be only one screen, probably for the next 20 minutes. I'm going to bring on Sadia here. If you want to scroll your way in. Hi there. Oh, don't worry. Hi guys. Everyone. Hi everyone. So this is my wife Sadia, and she's like probably about 70% of what we do, and but I get a lot of the credit for it, which is quite sad. So Sadia here is the art director for our company, and we develop a lot of collections, probably about 4 or 5 or so every year, something like this. Each one's slightly different, but whenever I design a collection, I pass it to Sadia. So it's very interesting. So we at the Transformers Foundation, we're always interested to share things that in the design process. Maybe we do lots of marketing. So an idea was pitched that maybe Sadia could share the journey of what she does when I make a collection. So we've got a video that Joanne is going to kindly play for us. It's about two minutes long. Then after the video is played and finished, then you're going to hear from Sadia for about 10-15 minutes. So Joanne, if you could kindly play that video, if you can manage it. Right. That was quite a fun video. Let's try and understand how that came about. So I'm going to share my screen now. So take it away, Sadia.
Hi everyone. Hope you're enjoying the last 2 days, and thank you Transformers for having me again. I just shuffled off to the side. I just wanted to talk about how the video that you just saw, how that comes about from a simple fabric to a whole collection to the whole storytelling side of it, and how you go from a fabric to a video like that. So I'm going to try and break it down for you the best way that I can. So as Mohsin said, we get a brief like every season or 1 or 2 every year, or more than that, but it may be, the brief may literally just be design and sew a capsule collection, 12 to 15 pieces, 8 to 12 looks. So basically meaning that Mohsin needs to design a collection, 15 garments that will create 8 to 12 looks. So whole outfit, meaning 1 look. So a shirt, a jacket and jeans. So that's 1 whole look. And the first thing you need to ask is who, what, where, when. So who are the collaborators? What's the budget? Where will the project be seen? When is the completion date? So who are the collaborators? Who's contributing what? It's really important to get clear on everyone's roles on the project so that everyone knows what they're doing. Everyone knows what the deliverables are and expectations. It's good to get that sorted up front. What's the budget? Price up the job properly, check your numbers, get sign off in writing, get an advance payment. And I would say don't be limited by your budget and get creative if it's very low. You can do wonderful things on a low budget, but if you have more time and more budget, then it's kind of limitless. There's lots of things you could do with a fun big budget on a shoot. And then where will the project be seen? So quite often, a lot of our collections end up at trade shows, and so our dates are geared towards that. And usually we turn up with the collection with printed lookbooks, with, you know, just ready to go. Basically, we literally hand it over to the booth. And in this case, Bath Recast was a 10-cell project, and Navina and Genealogia. So we handed over assets to each of those collaborators. And also, if you know, thinking about a trade show, they're all quite different, and you can, you know, you have to think about how it's going to be displayed. The collection, if you're going to have a book, how do you want it seen on the booth? You know, you can have things like hanging garments from the ceiling, like we just did in Blue Zone, or you may just get a rail, or you may get an opportunity to have giant posters printed with photos. Which is always nice. And then so the lookbook, you'll need a print version quite often, and you need an online version. And then you need to prepare images for magazine ads, whether if it's a printed magazine or for digital advertising. And social media, you know, it's all about video these days. So creating those videos, getting those images done, and rolling out a whole social media campaign. It's good to work that out up front. And also, if you're designing a collection and you've got a story behind it, it's easier to kind of have that in your mental kind of background, knowing that you kind of can work out the kind of shots that you're going to need for social, like detail shots of, I don't know, like a bar tack, or, you know, just all the fabric itself. Because that's what this is all about. It's about the fabric. And we'll create a media pack, so this will get sent out to press, and we'll write press release and format that. And then when is the completion date? So you create a timeline. So quite often it's a trade show, that's deadline, so you have to work backwards to where you are right now, and basically plot in dates on when things need to get done by. You need to stick to your schedule, because if you take too long doing something, if you kind of fall out of whack with your schedule, then everything else kind of gets affected like a domino effect. And you need to be really clear about what you need from others in advance, so that they've got enough time to prepare whatever they need to give you, whether if it's information or sending the fabrics in time, or whatever that is. And give yourself a buffer. So say if you need to give something, you hand something over on the 10th, you know, try and get everything ready by the 5th. You know, you never know what's going to happen. There might be some unforeseeable issue with shipping, or you know, some kind of delays or some kind of issue. So give yourself a buffer if you can. I'd say stay in communication with everyone. When problems arise, you can deal with them all together. And so we move into the design phase, which is a fun part. So you start at the beginning. So what's the concept? What's it going to be called? And you set the creative direction from there. So initially it's, you know, it may be just a fabric, but then is there a name for this project? In this case, we did Bath Recast. That was a name, and that came from Michael at Tencel. And it was a hemp-based denim collection. And so all the art direction came from the idea of hemp in denim. After that, from that was my starting point, and that's where it was a starting point for Mohsin as well. So that influenced how he worked on his collection too. So this part here, the concept, the name, and the creative direction all needs to be done together. And then it basically kind of splits off into two. So basically Mohsin is the product side. He deals with the, you know, all the product stuff, like dealing with the fabrics, patterns, you know, everything. And I'm communications, anything image-based, anything storytelling, and yeah, that's basically that. And then this is a breakdown. So what happens with the product? I don't know if Mohsin, you want to touch on this?
I can jump back in. So yeah, our product is like, yeah, planning the collection. Obviously, I got a big archive, so I look at really old garments. The idea was actually for this collection was if we found a hemp-based collection in the early 1900s, what would it look like? So that was the kind of, if it was found down a gold mine, there's a romanticized view that early workwear garments most likely were made out of hemp. So the task was, Michael said to me, design a collection that if it was found down a gold mine. So I was looking at 1890s, 1880s, that kind of era. So I designed that, looked at archive garments, inspiration, mood board, of course, fabric selection that came from our friends at La Navina. I designed the collection, of course, and I pattern cut it.
You had a hand in actually asking for what kind of fabrics you wanted as well.
I designed the
this case
fabrics
as well.
too. That's true. So I made a wish list of about 15 different types of fabrics, 2x1s, in really interesting constructions. I asked them to be all unsinged, so they weren't burnt. So modernization when it comes to samplerization and all that, we didn't do any of that at all. We did that for the other versions of the fabrics, but we literally kept it as authentic as we could. I designed the collection, I pattern cut it. I did the lineup, of course, and then I ended up making 3 sets, which is quite unusual for me. I don't normally make lots of sets, but they wanted 3 sets, and it ended up being a 18 piece collection. So I made roughly about 50 garments in the space of a few weeks, which is insane for me. We did all the wash direction with our friends at La Genealogia, and we got trims made as well from YKK and also Jawaid brothers, who were just on sort of on here. And I attached the trims, and then we handed it over to Sadia. So I'm going to go now.
So then we go back to communication. So while Mohsin is doing all of that, I'm also working on the communication side of it. So I'm building out the mood board. I'm designing the logo. We're ordering trims and labels. So Joker labels, patches, woven labels, printed labels, hang tags, shirt button tags. And so for the model photo shoot planning, you kind of like need someone to do production, you need to do model casting, you need a photographer, filmmaker, stylist, hair and makeup assistants, and a photography retoucher as the basics. And you know that list can get much larger, and we'll kind of come back to this in a moment. But we also do garment flat photography as well. We get that done, so it's important to have, for us, it's important to have a model shoot so you can see the garments on a person and you can see them flat. So it's really useful for social media, for the lookbooks, and you can see the garments kind of more for their shape and, you know, flat. And then once you've kind of found everyone for the photo shoot, you need to book them in, you need to book a location. If you're doing an indoor shoot, then you need to put a deposit down for the location, and there's kind of all sorts of other logistics that come with that. And you send out a call sheet. So a call sheet is essentially it's information that has everyone who's on the shoot is on this sheet of paper, and the location of where to meet, what time you're starting, and what time the shoot kind of starts and finishes, so everyone knows what's going on that day. And then you have your photo shoot and film day, usually the whole day, and you have someone doing BTS, behind the scenes photos and videos from the day, just to share on social as well. And also we like to share what's going on with our collaborators as well, so they're in the loop. They're not always in the country, so if they are, then we do like them to come along for the day. It's usually quite fun. And then what happens is that I usually share, if I'm working with a filmmaker, I will share assets like film titles, and I'll find some music, and I'll send that through to them. And then lookbook design, get lookbook printed, making sure that it's in the schedule of your timeline, that you've got enough time to get it printed and to pick it up and get it to everyone who needs it in time. A media pack and press release, social media plan. We did Chloe 3D drawings, animations this time as well. After everything's handed over, we still need to make sure that we pay everyone on time and that we share all the images of the models with the agencies. So that's something that continues after we've handed it. So Bastry Cast is Tensile, Endrime, Navina, and Genealogia. So this is essentially a breakdown of like how I would do work with my numbers, so everything that we would cover under Endrime, and then photo shoot costs and the film costs as well. So this is the kind of thing that I would work on, and then that way I make sure that we're within budget. So the product, Mohsin. So this is your line.
It was indeed.
Lineup,
so this is the
plan.
Yeah, I kept it small. I knew there was many fabrics that got made, up to about 15 fabrics. So I didn't necessarily want to make 15 separate garments. So I kept the collection small to about 7 pieces. And then most of the garments we replicated in other fabrics. So it ended up being doubles or triples of some of the garments. So yeah, that's what we did.
And yeah, here's
And
a
then-
few shots of Mohsin making the garments, which we always try and do.
Yeah.
And this is a lineup of what basically got washed from Genealogia, and then how we were gonna on the bottom 2 pages is basically the looks that we roughly figured out that we were going to try and shoot on the shoot day.
This is helpful for the stylist as well. So when
Yeah.
normally we have
The
other
stylist
people who come on at this stage, so they don't know anything about the collection, so they just want to say, how many garments is it, what else do we need? And it's a stylist's job to look at all these things and figure out the shoes, and if they need a t-shirt or if they need other accessories. So they look at this and then they build out the collection. So it's quite fun. Okay.
And then going back to my bit, which is the design side, so the logo has been done. So we've ordered the trims, we've done the Joker labels, patches, woven printed labels, hang tags, all of that. And as I mentioned, the hemp leaf was a big thing for us. So that, and I also did research on vintage woven labels from Denim, from the same era that Mohsin was looking at, and it kind of spoke into the garments as well. I don't know if you can see the small picture on the left on the jean pocket. There's also a hemp leaf that Mohsin sewed on, which was quite cool. So it kind of ties everything together. We worked with Warp Face to use all the offcuts from Mohsin's collection to make hemp denim paper. And we used that to make our trims, which worked really well, I think. This is essentially a call sheet. So the first page is just information, who's coming. The location page on the second one is literally like where we're going to meet, how you can get there from the station, where the restrooms are, where you can get food and all the rest of it. So you kind of need to figure all that stuff out. Picking models can be quite tricky because you need them to work well together, and sometimes that you might find someone that you want to work with but they're not available, so it can be quite tricky. But it's really worth building relationships with agencies. I find that things run a lot more smoothly when you've worked with the same person after a couple of shoots. They kind of know you and they know what you're looking for. So this is a research I did for the photo shoot. Me and Mohsin went out to the beach, and this is bearing in mind I think this is March 2021, and we were in like full lockdown, so we weren't allowed to meet really outside. Even outside, I think everything was kind of very locked down, so we needed to do an outdoor shoot, and I wanted to do it by the sea, and so we chose this location, and we basically went and did a scout of where we could shoot a lot of the shots, and Kelly actually helped us out on this as well. I also looked at like detailed shots that I wanted to include, and then from a graphic design and print video creative direction, I was already thinking about how I want this lookbook to look, how I want to use these images. So I asked a film guy, photographer, to get extra mood shots of things that I knew I could include in the graphics later. And then this is a mood board, basically just setting a tone of like, so everyone knows what we're kind of we're hoping for the day, because you never know with weather. And we were hoping for those, to get a few shots in the golden hour by the sea, which would be nice. And then hair and makeup you need to think about too. And I kind of tried to relate it back to the sea and waves and kind of that Gen Z kind of look as well. Then this is the lookbook that we did, but it was more of an information one. So it is basically wash recipes and genealogia, EIM scoring, and about the fabrics. And then this is the social media rollout that we did. This was for digital ads that we did. So all of these went out on a few online publications. And we made a film from it, and we tried to capture details of the fabric and sewing details, yeah. Also we tried to do multiple cuts, so you may need like a vertical version for reels, for stories, and a vertical and a horizontal for YouTube, so you need to think about that. And then this is our stuff being shown at a trade show. So you can see there's been posters printed, there's like large scale logos everywhere, and the garments are on a rail. and that's the team. And I would say hire the right people and trust they will do a great job. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for that, Sad. That was very, very nice. Let's stop sharing. Let's see if there's any questions for us. I think some of the questions are related to probably the last panel. Well, what keeps you motivated? There you go. That's a nice question.
It's never a dull day with Mohsin, I have to say. We're constantly, I think I get inspired by quite a lot of things, and me and Mohsin are always talking about new collections and new projects, and it's always exciting and it's always inspiring when there's a new fabric that's been released, or it's really nice to think about how to tell that story. I just really enjoy that part of the job. So.
Yeah, I think we both enjoyed the storytelling part of that, haven't we? And it's always quite fun when there's a little bit of budget, you can have some fun on a video shoot. And yeah, but there's a lot of work, guys, that goes into developing a shoot. And I think everyone thinks it's very simple. Here's the money, do it. You saw the list of things that she has to do. It's like, it's a team of people. Quite a lot to think about. And not only that, we forget that you also shoot it as well. Sometimes we don't have a photographer or film guy. You're doing a lot of it, or I'm doing a lot of it.
Yeah,
so
recently I've been shooting it and Mohsin's been filming it. So it's kind of that added layer of more to think about.
More to think about.
But it's really fun because we're often directing the photographer or the film guy that we do hire, and it really comes down to what lenses they have or cameras they have are like amazing quality, so you can't often compare the stuff that they have to the stuff that I feel like we have sometimes, but that's what happens. It's like that comes down to budget and it comes down to time.
Yeah,
so it's
that's it. So budget's not been a major issue. We've worked with small budgets and big budgets, right? So it's all, we can still do a video that looks expensive on even a small budget. So
and you can still have a lot of fun doing it.
There you go. Well, thank you so much, Sad. It's been really lovely to have you here, and we're going to say goodbye to you now.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. So